To all Pro Libertad supporters, in lieu of a Despierta Boricua segment, we are providing you with the recording of the wonderful event we had titled Student Struggle at the UPR.
My name is Astrid Luga, and I am the president of El Consejo General de Estudiantes from the University of Puerto Rico, which is the student council or the student government in the University of Puerto Rico. And this is the public university and the public system of Puerto Rico. Rio Piedras, which is the university which I am president of, is the oldest university of the system. We are 11 campuses. But we have been attacked. If you have heard from the news, we have been attacked since forever, but since the beginning of this year, because and since the struggle for our, let me close the window because it's raining and it's noisy. Precisely because of cuts, of budget cuts. And before 2016, 2017, the government used to, we used to have a formula where a certain percent of the budget was delegated to the university system, because it was the university, the public university, and our funds were guaranteed by law. And this law has not been eliminated. It's still, the law is still there, but it has since been ignored because of the imposition of the Junta de Control Fiscal, which is the administration that was put forward in 2016 in all the government institutions, which is a very anti-democratic thing, because it controls all the budgets in every institution, and it does not recognize that an institution like the university it's a very important institution to actually grow as a country in any way. It's fundamental, right? And even though the university is not under the Promesa Título 3, which is the article that imposes the most restrictions to an institution and can control actually the budget of the institution, it's still it can propose budgets, and our administration does not fight back because it's allied with the economical interest that it's getting benefited from that fact. So in 2016-17, once they signed in the government, they imposed aggressive cuts to the university system. Like, more than half of our budget is gone for 11 campuses. We have $440 million currently, and because of the size, and it's the most important university, even more important than the private universities that are here. It's considered like an Ivy League, because and recognized as the best university in the Caribbean. It's really getting really deteriorated because of it. This has made our responsibility to fight for it much more important. And our university has always, the University of Puerto Rico has a long list of historical moments where we have fought for many things in our country. It has been the center of struggles for our freedom. It has been the center of struggles for many discussions in our past, against the war in Vietnam, and many situations, as many universities do. So The thing is that this year, before even starting classes on January 16, while we were doing remote enrollment, and our campus was undergoing electrical system repairs, which was very suspicious, and I was a little worried about that. Um, there was a document that was leaked. So, um, and this document, it's called R2425 or R2425 slash 17, dated in January 13, was leaked to the student council on January 16. So 3 days after, it was already approved. The document paused student admissions for 64 academic programs for the next 3 years. Programs that had already been published for academic offerings and had been made available since October and November for students to apply. And these students were scheduled to receive notification of admission denial on January 31. I mean, that's less than 14 days away. And what were these programs? Um, Most of these programs were really important. Agriculture programs in education, um, education in English, in Spanish, in math, in history, the history program, the literature program, labor rights program. It was being paused and at risk. And most of these programs had been affected by the cuts as well. So they were actually already very, for various reasons, damaged. And the economic crisis made it very hard for many students to actually keep studying, especially after Maria, Huracán Maria, which really has had effects in our society still. And of course, after Maria, pandemia, I mean, it has been a tragic from 2016, the imposition of La Junta, and then Huracán Maria, and then the pandemia. So it has been really hard for families in Puerto Rico to send their children to study. And these things are not even considered in this document. Um, this document was leaked, and with it, a second document was leaked in January. It required this document that the units made a report as to what they were going to do to make to change these programs, or what proposals do they have, and this had to be given in on January 24, which it was ridiculous. It was a really short time, and we weren't even in the university, so it was there was a lot of indignation with both the administrators, some administrators, but also students and the professors, which had to do this very short time. It seemed um, like a trap. Actually, that's how we called it. It's like this is weird. We're not even in the universities. Classes have not started. We cannot organize. We cannot meet. We cannot organize resistance because we're not even in person. So it was very hard. And then a second document was leaked that validated the actions that this first document did, the arbitrary process that gives power to the Vice Presidency of Academic Affairs of the Central Administration to implement moratoriums without consulting the community, which is a process that is in the law of our college, so our university. So it was directly attacking the autonomy of the campuses by taking away functions from our council, our academic council, which includes representation from all sectors in the university, and also the faculties, which actually are constructing these programs. They were the first ones that used. They're supposed to be the ones that ask for moratories or to pause a program or revisions, because they are the ones that actually know the programs and have this data, which is nothing other than sentencing to death the academic programs without due process of consultation with the community. The reports of this period only included new students, which was something that we identified very fast. And this made it really difficult because, of course, new students don't usually know many programs exist until they get to the university, which is very important. It did not include students doing double concentrations or double studies, double subject studies, program changes or transfers, which happens often because of our system. Some programs don't exist in all of the units. And in our view, this process was a lack of consideration for the processes already established in our university and without consultation, since it really removes the participation of the community in these decisions. And we also argued that it is inconsistent with the strategic plan that we just approved in December, especially when evaluations and transformation of these programs had already been submitted in November. So they say you have to reevaluate these programs and you're not going to receive students for these programs for the next 3 years, but we had already evaluated these programs. So it didn't seem fair. And these considerations were just not reflected in the report. With time against us and the media distraction because of the Fiesta de la Calle San Sebastián, most of you know that this is a really big party that we have in Old San Juan. Bad Bunny had just released his song, and everybody was just looking at that. And we just had a few days before classes began. Against all odds, this report had to be denounced by all media. This is something that I was like, we have to do something. I know we will probably not have the best coverage, but we have to do something. I just cannot just look at this and let it go. From all forums and with the support of the entire university community. So that Friday, January 17, we had the board meeting of our directiva to discuss actions. What actions are we going to do? What resources can we use? And we approved the distribution of the document to each faculty and school student presidencies in the whole university, but also all the students' organization unions at the national level, and obviously all the 11 units. We asked and we proposed that each sector discuss the document and publish a press release ASAP with their position, so as to make the indignation as public as possible and make as much noise as possible before we could obviously make something big, which was the first day we made a manifestation, a big manifestation. So meanwhile, we made contact with different media outlets in the country to circulate the information we had collected, and interviews quickly began to be coordinated in all media spaces. We agreed also to issue a press release repudiating seriado, so that letter. In that day, also a group of teachers contacted me from the education faculty, which was going to suffer 15 programs being basically eliminated for forever, who had just collaborated in the activity commemorating Eugenio Maria de Hostos. And they contacted me directly to coordinate a meeting to join forces on Monday, January 20, with the purpose of drafting a document of coordinating claims. And also we coordinated the participation of all students in this, or as much students that we could get to work while classes had not started. From these efforts, starting on that day, the councils of the school administration, education, humanities, social sciences, architecture, natural sciences, the affected departments, which is humanities, social sciences, and education, of course. The departments in solidarity, departments that were not affected, but obviously were in indignation. Um, the high schools and the student councils of the 11 campuses in unison and individually, the Teachers Federation, the Professors Association, the Syndicate of Non-Teaching Employees, the student community organizations published press releases repudiating the serial, the new moratorium guide, and the actions of President Ferrao, which was the president. He resigned after a lot of pressure. In addition, talks started to propose holding a multi-sector meeting to coordinate efforts and actions together, because what we started talking is like, this is a coordinated attack. This is happening because our government and our governor right now is very conservative, very Republican, very bad, and she just wants to align with the things that are happening, obviously in with Trump's administration, and to make the all the public funds and everything as small as possible, to privatize, and social services as as as, as less money as possible. And so um, this we started saying, if we want to really defend the university, the public education, and the right of poor and working class people to study, we have to do it together. We cannot fragmentize our fight. Like, this cannot be the fight of students. This cannot be just the fight of professors. This has to be the fight of the community. And this is the university of the people. Well, then all our pueblo has to get together and fight for their university, for their studies, for their right to be able to get an education. Um, so this is what we did. We invited everybody to fight for the university, and we decided to host a meeting, a multi-sectoral meeting, which was huge. We thought we didn't know what was going to happen because of the short time we had. Um, so so we just said, let's try to make this happen. Just tell them we're going to meet this day at this time, and we started saying it to the press. We are meeting multi-sectorally. We're gonna defend our university, our public right to have a university, and we're gonna demonstrate solidarity. This demonstration of solidarity attracted the public attention and succeeded in getting the entire university community, I mean, the syndicate of security, all the different uh, working class of working gremios, obviously the professors, everyone was in that meeting. Everyone, not only the students that, well, we are always there, but no, everyone was there. Um, we came together as a front in defense of the public university of the country. It was very beautiful. And the next day, a multi-sector work agenda was proposed by all the sectors, um, in which all sectors agreed to publish a press release with our impressions or on the serial and the moratorium guide on Tuesday, January 21, and letting it be known that we were calling for a multi-sector meeting on Wednesday, 22. We wanted everybody to know that this was happening, because we said this is gonna make pressure, in the government, because they are gonna know that this is happening, and the administration has to know that we just won't let this happen. None of us. Just so we could discuss the next steps. right? And we said we don't know what we will decide, but uh, anything goes, right? Because we want to defend our university. So on Monday, January 20, the student representatives of the Junta de Gobierno, which is like the governing body of the university. It has 10 members that are appointed by a governor, so it's very politicized. But it has representation of two students and two professors. And our student representatives coordinating a meeting between the presidents of the councils, the student councils, and from the 11 uh, campuses, and uh, also the president of that president, the one that is no longer there with us. Um, and it was the same day that we had said that we were going to have the multi-sectory meeting. So he wanted to meet with us around 3 in the administration, and we had a meeting, a multi-sectoral meeting at 7. And we had told him, okay, we will meet, but we have a meeting at 7 with the rest of the community. So it's still going to happen no matter what. And we met like hours before because I really wanted to know if we were all in the same page. We're going to talk to the administration. And we were all in the same page. We said we're not going to agree to anything with him. We were not going to let him, corner us into making a decision there, or make him feel like he's like being very kind to us, because he's not. And he tried to explain to us how we had so many less students, and people were not having children, and people were getting away from getting out of the country, and we said yes, because the economical conditions of Puerto Rico are very bad to stay here and study. We have to make it cheaper to study here. Our university is not as cheap as it should be. In 2016, they raised the cost of studying, and it's almost as high as private universities. This is not acceptable. If you really think that we should get more students, and we need more students, you have to make us be able to pay for our studies. And this is something that we have to consider. Also, we need our budget back. It is not acceptable that they're taking away half of our budget. This is something that it's paid by our taxes, and this is a public university. We should guarantee the funds for our university. You also closed all the residencies for students, and everything is an Airbnb now around the university. So everything is so expensive that we cannot live near our university. This has to have an effect on how our families can or cannot study here or send their children here. So you have to make, rather than telling us that our demographics are just not going to work, you have to make an effort and make it possible for our families to have children, and be able to send them to the university, because this is a need for our country. We need professionals here. So this has to be an investment of the country, not just well, we have to look for private somebody that gives us money from the private sector and depend on the private sector. No, you have taken a lot, and we have gone through so many problems that make this situation worse. If our families are leaving, or if we are choosing to leave this country, it's because we just 2016 you came with the junta. 2018, the tormenta Maria, the hurricane, and then the pandemia. Of course, we are not, like, maybe this is not the priority for the families, since we have to get food, but then you make it as expensive as possible. And now you're talking about raising the tuition, and also imposing taking away programs, academic programs that help us have creative thinking and take care of our culture, like history, literature. I mean, these are programs that have to do with our identity. So no, this is not acceptable. This cannot be. So we had our meeting with the president. He tried to convince us, and we fought back. And he was like, "Oh, I think he didn't expect us to be as informed and to tell him everything that we did." And we told him that this situation, this thing that you're doing is just political. You're just trying to align yourself with the political program of said government, which sees the university as something that should serve the market, and we just don't see it that way. This is that our university is a public university, and it should serve our people. If it's not serving our people, then it is not a public university. If you want a private university, you have private universities, but it's not this one. This one has no place in the market. What we need to do is serve the people and the needs of our country right now. Um, so, and he said, okay, maybe we can rethink this, but bring me some give me a proposal how to deal with this. And we said, yes, we will bring you a proposal. And he scheduled a meeting for the 28th. But we still, of course, said we're going to go to our multisectoral sectorial meeting, and we went at 7. It was a very long day, and there we decided we were going to make a series of actions uh, to talk about, to publish it, and as a front, defend these programs and the public university. We decided that we were going to fight for university reform, where our administrators should be, and we have been making different legislature documents where we had done this before, so it is doable. We had presented it into our spaces, and in which we should select, the community should select the administrators from the community, people that should serve us, and not interest in the government or the economic people that gave them money to run for governor. That's just not what we want. And we also talked about we need our budget back, because everything that they were saying that started happening in 2016. So it just makes sense. Everything that you did from 2016 has been affecting everyone, and of course, all the natural disasters that have gone there. And we said, we did like a slogan: without you, there's no PR. Without universidad, without university, there's no Puerto Rico. And that's what we used to make a big concentration. And we did an enormous press release on the 29th, where all the sectors, absolutely all the sectors, were represented. It was very impressive, and we didn't miss an interview, so we could, because of course the administration was giving their point of view, and was all for privatization, eliminating these programs. Oh, the children, they're just this generation is a TikTok generation. They don't care about history. They don't care about literature. No, they just want to be like influencers. That's what we have to sell. And we were like, no, what are you talking about? Why don't you ask us? We just how are you gonna tell me that I don't want that, when the conditions you're making for us to study are just bad? So we did this huge campaign, and it was a very broad coverture of media every outlet, and I know it got outside of the island, which was very nice. And we also again on Sunday 26th, we made a meeting from all the faculties, the leaders of all the faculties and the departments, so we could inform what was going on, since we could not meet in person for a while because of of what was happening. We said, I need you to be informed. This is what's happening. These are our documents that we have. Um, and we met again with the president. Every day since the 21st, we had marches inside the university. We had manifestations. We had activities, painting in the university, and trying to inform students. We had a campaign where we would go. We asked for 5 minutes in each classroom just to explain what was going on, so people could get interested in what was happening, because um, most of our students right now are working class, like working poor class. There was actually a recent study that just released around this time, where you could tell most students didn't eat. They ate only once a day, and poverty is really really big, a really big thing in college students right now in the public university. So because they can't pay rent, they have 2 or 3 works, so they cannot, most of them cannot stay in the university, which is something that used to happen a lot, to have discussions, political discussions, etc., because we take our classes and we go off to our work. So we had to take any moment we could to inform and to organize resistance, which was really really complicated right now. We On the 29th, we had our big multi-sectoral manifestation, our march. We marched into the administration, and on the February 3rd, yes, I mean, and after that march, the president announced that he was gonna let students in the programs. So that was our first. Now, yes, we're gonna let student in. The document still stands, but we're gonna let student in for this time. Maybe revise it on May. So we still were like, okay, good. The students that applied for these programs are coming in, but the programs are still at risk. So we were like, that's okay, but we need this paper, this document to get out of the table. And we do need the tuition to go down to what it was before. Promesa is our what we're asking for, which is right now it's 156 per credit, and it was 57. Um, so we had a second meeting on February 3rd with the president, and we presented all of our claims, which is everything that I have told you. And he was the president, and all his council was like, everything that you're saying, I mean, yes, we can negotiate it, but we want you to help us and all that. And we're like, we have to go back to our bases, talk to the students, and to the multi-sectorial, because this is not only us. And also, yes, you need to, because he was like, I cannot fight La Junta, which is the first thing that we were like, you're actually going to have to, because you are representing the university. And this is just what has to happen. We cannot keep working with this budget. We need our budget back. And we're happy that you are letting students in, but we need this document to, to get destroyed. We don't want it. And he wasn't on it. But on he resigned later that week. Yes, on February 3rd. Um, and he had left a document for us to schedule meetings monthly to negotiate. But the next meeting that we were going to have in the 7th, he canceled. And then we obviously we were very pissed, because we didn't care who was the president. If there was if there's someone there, we have to talk to them, and we need to negotiate. I mean, we need to talk about what is going to happen with our programs. It doesn't matter if it's another person. We know it's not the person. It's a vision of the university that is getting imposed. And they said, oh, the meeting is going to be scheduled later when we have a new president. So we are still waiting for the new president to go on. We did schedule, with the multisectorial agreed on to have on the 13th assembly in Rio Piedras, and in every unit, in every campus, we had a multisectorial to discuss and to inform our community. It was full. It was beautiful. All sectors of the university were together, and we decided that we wanted to have un paro, like in the 19th, el 19, because we said we want the guide of moratorias, of stopping programs, to just that document. We don't want it. And in that day, after we had our assembly, the president interim, he eliminated the la guía, the 24-25, el seriado, and they were working on changing the part of the guía that we were fighting, that gave the power to the vice president. So we were like, okay, this is what's happening, but still, what are we going to do about the rest of the claims? And that was just after that we said, okay, we need to meet and see what we're going to do, because we had already scheduled un paro. And yes, we wanted to make some pressure, so the second document had to be eliminated. Finally, yesterday they told us that they did. They stopped the section that talked about and it restituted the original process, where they have to ask the community for any change in the programs. But it has been a very long and stressful month, a beginning of classes, and of course, the most important thing is that we agreed that we are going to make a proper organization, a multi-sectoral organization from this, where we actually fight for everything that we need in the university together, because there's just no way to fight this big monster that affects all of us, which has to do with the budget, of course, that has been cut, but also it does have to do with with a practice that we have lost, which is to stand together. And this is something that we really need to do. I'm going to show you a few pictures that I have here from the march that we did. If I can, let me check. No, I don't, I cannot share. Let me share.
I think you should be able to now.
Okay, let me check. Thank you. Yes. Okay, this is one of the pictures. Also, you should be seeing the march. It really did fill up. That was all the way from outside, and then I will show you. Here we are, all sectors together. In the center, it's the president of the professors. In the orange shirt is the president of the working class of the workers, not professor workers, and then other organizations and all the students from all the 11 programs marching into the administration. And with that, I am open to any questions.
Actually, folks, we're going to be taking our next speaker, Marlo, and then at the end, we will do questions and answers together. So, first and foremost, before I introduce Marlo from Hoopy BX, I just want to thank again everyone for their patience. Thank you, Astrid, Marlo, everyone here. Thank you to Hope and DPC for pinch hitting with the Zoom. Folks, I am very proud to announce our next speaker. Marlo is a representative of Hoopy BX, Juventud Unida por la Independencia. Go ahead.
Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna just share this. All right. Can folks see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Ooh. Sorry, let me just do that. All right. Great. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ben, for the space. Thank you all for your incredible patience through that Zoom bombing. And thank you, Astrid, for everything that you just shared. I'm feeling really inspired by the, cross-sector organizing that y'all are engaged in. Um, so I know folks have questions. I got questions. And I also know that we've been set a little bit behind. Like Ben said, my name is Marlo. I'm a member of Juventud Unida por la Independencia Bronx chapter. We're a grassroots organization of youth and students in the Puerto Rican diaspora working toward an independent Puerto Rico. And for Hoopy, the student struggle is of huge importance in our sector. And as the struggle of the students in the archipelago intensifies against the threats of La Junta, but also their corrupt collaborators, we also have to do our part here to understand the conditions facing students in the diaspora so that we can struggle together against that common enemy of U.S. imperialism. So I'm going to start by kind of just talking through some key features of the overall situation for students here. Though education has been a vulnerable sector at most points in our history, today the few reforms that have made education more accessible for the broad masses are under serious attack. So first, there's kind of the neoliberal and bourgeois character of our education system. where these kind of neoliberal principles have dominated education from the primary level to the higher level, emphasizing the individualist values that uphold our capitalist system, right? So in higher education, this is most clearly exemplified in the cost of colleges and universities, but also in their competitive models. And then as the tech sector continues its dominance of public life, and emphasis is placed on STEM education in order to expand the industry's size and scope. And so it's also important to understand the connection between tech firms and weapons firms, as they often work in collaboration with one another, where weapons companies like Lockheed Martin will often poach students from university tech programs or engineering programs. So, under this system, US schools will often suffer greatly from austerity measures, similar to the ones that we see at La UPI. Very long patterns of decline in education funding have impacted programs and staffing at public universities across the country. And at the same time, more private money in institutions forces schools to be more accountable to donors than to their students. Add to this the current fascist attacks against education under our current administration, in addition to executive actions that are aiming to gut the Department of Education, which will jeopardize all kinds of things, including the system of federal financial aid, including federal student loans, which, although it's still a lending program and therefore, limited and somewhat problematic, they still provide better terms than private lenders, which are much more predatory. And for many students, will make a difference in their ability to actually attain higher education. And then on top of that, the current administration's cultural offensive has led to massive attacks on DEI initiatives, following a pattern of attacks that have taken place across the country for several years now, like those that have taken place in Florida, or the numerous book bans we've seen in schools and libraries. And these measures jeopardize not only the futures of underrepresented students and faculty, but also so many different fields of research, as one of the measures that's been taken has been targeting keywords in grant language that mirror so-called DEI language, whether the research is related to those areas or not. In a lot of cases, it's not. And then repression is another huge aspect of this fascist attack. Since the resurgence of the student anti-war movement in the US, many institutions have doubled down on political repression and censorship, particularly around expressions of solidarity with Palestine, which is deeply related to the issue of university donors and endowments, many of whom have financial ties to Israel, and all have created a massive demand nationwide for university investment. Well, not just nationwide, but also globally. So as members of the Puerto Rican diaspora in New York City, we have a very historic relationship to the city university system that goes back to the historic student movement that took place in CUNY. From the 1969 takeover of the campus at City College, which had heavy involvement of Puerto Rican student activists, like in the Puerto Rican Institute for Student Action, PRISA, and also included a demand for the establishment of schools of Black and Puerto Rican studies. And then you also have the establishment of Centro, the Center for Puerto Rican Studies at Hunter College, that was initially a grassroots initiative by a coalition of organizers, students, and faculty. And there are kind of some ways that as Centro has grown, they've kind of strayed from that initial grassroots community-led nature, that sometimes farther away than others. So sometimes in the movement, we tend to be critical of where Centro is and as an institution, but it was established as a grassroots project. So today, the situation at CUNY is also facing serious attacks, as public universities are in PR, as public universities are throughout the country. They've faced consistent underinvestment, and like a lot of schools have been particularly vulnerable since the COVID pandemic started. And in 2014, budget cuts in the hundreds of millions threatened class cancellations, adjunct layoffs, cuts to courses, increased enrollment caps, cuts to staff positions, cuts to temporary staff and staff budgets. All of this according to PSC CUNY, which is one of the staff unions in the CUNY system. And so they fought to restore the budget all through last year, and some of the fight was successful, but there were still staffing cuts at certain campuses. And now, given the proposed cuts that are happening at the federal level, that are being proposed by Elon Musk and at the request of his Department of Government Efficiency, which is not a real governmental department. It is an overinflated advisory board, essentially. Things remain in danger. When I was doing internship and career development work with a CUNY partner, we had internships that were impacted by discontinued funding. And so these were student jobs that had to then be cut. And then naturally, adjunct roles already come with some level of insecurity, but a lot of these roles remain, a lot of folks in these roles have still issues with the security of their positions. And when we talk about CUNY, it's also really, really, really important to mention that one of the members of the CUNY Board of Trustees, Robert Mujica, is also the executive director of the Junta de Control Fiscal. And other members of La Junta have held other executive roles in education and in academia, like Betty Rosa and Arthur J. Gonzalez. So as both CUNY and La UP both face cuts to their operating budgets that jeopardize not just students and faculty, but access to education overall, because both of these public university systems are essential for working class students to be able to access an education. We have to acknowledge where the attacks are coming from, because they're not just from Trump. And then there's also, again, the ongoing issue of repression throughout the entire CUNY system. There's been severe repression at the campuses in light of solidarity organizing with Palestine. The sweep of the encampment that was at City College led to 173 arrests. There's students that have faced suspensions that have jeopardized not only the future of their education, but also for international students, the futures of their visas, which is particularly dangerous in this moment, where the attacks on immigration are coming very quickly and very intensely. Right now, there is a campaign to have charges dropped for 8 CUNY students who are facing felony charges and prison time for their activism last spring. And this campaign has been taken up by several different organizations in New York. And it's also been taken up by the union at CUNY PSC, or the battle to divest, rather, has been taken up by CUNY PSC. Excuse me, who are fighting the CUNY administration right now to uphold their vote to divest from Israel. And so you can look to them and also to organizations like CUNY for Palestine for updates on where these campaigns are at. But as a youth and student organization, our membership is partially comprised of current students, some of whom attend CUNY schools right now and have observed kind of some of these battles firsthand. There's a really common thread of feelings of detachment and isolation, feeling generally unsupported by the structure as a whole. And then folks are really feeling the weight of the political climate on campus, right? Many students and student organizations are still protesting while these threats from the federal government are looming really large over everybody's heads. And so just to kind of wrap up, right, Puerto Rican students in the diaspora are vulnerable to these barriers that exist to education, that exist for all working class students in the US. And so as the size of the Puerto Rican diaspora grows, more Puerto Rican students are subject to the conditions here, particularly as a lot of students leave the archipelago to pursue an education here. And so in both cases, the biggest threat to Puerto Rican students is the power of these US neoliberal capitalist policies to shape their future. And so with that being said, Hoopy is absolutely in solidarity with the students at La UPI against austerity and against corruption, and really looking forward to being present in the work that's being done there as well.
Thank you, Marlo. Thank you so much. So, folks, again, thank you for your patience and your support. We're opening it up to question and answer. Before we jump in, just wanted to little bit of some announcements. First and foremost, Pro Libertad will be supporting the campaign that has been established to support our freed compañero Leonard Peltier. You'll be receiving some emails from social media, also through our email account, about how we can support Leonard in his transition. As of this afternoon, Pro Libertad is also going to be doing a campaign against Zoom. I want my $85 back. This was supposed to be a webinar, and it wasn't. I'm trying to decompress with humor, folks, but we're going to get into our Q&A. Both of our presentations were excellent. I'm going to ask you guys, please, if you want, unmute yourselves, throw out a question, or you can write stack in the chat. We already have Ed has jumped on really quick. Go ahead, Ed.
Hi, this is Ed Ortiz from Call to Action, Independent Puerto Rico. We've done a lot of work with the group of Se Acabaron las Promesas. And every December I go down to Puerto Rico and I end up staying in a budget hotel right on Avenida Universidad. So over the years, I've just seen a lot of the changes in terms of the students and the number of students and the businesses catering to the students. And I remember always hanging out with some folks at the big building that was the dormitory, across the street from La Plaza. And it's so sad. It's so empty now. But what I wanted to ask was, in terms of the students, what's the number of students now that are able to actually reside at the campus, as opposed to before?
We don't have residencies except one that is in the what is it called? Ciudad Universitaria, which is a really small one, and it's privately administrated, even if it is we constructed it with public funds, the trick of
that's the big dorm behind that's the big dorm.
It's really small, and it's the most expensive too, and it's really destroyed too. Some pictures have been leaking, and it's horrible conditions. It's less, I don't remember the sum, but it's really it doesn't get to 100 students that can be there, so it's definitely doesn't cover the necessities. And the other two residencies that used to be there, the big one that you're saying, which is going to be demolished, it was announced in December after they said that they had located the funds and everything to make it be functional. They're just going to destroy it. I just asked for information of that, because they didn't say anything, and it's an emergency that we do need residencies, and residencies that are not expensive, of course, because we just can't pay it. It's a really bad situation in that sense.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Throw it up on chat or unmute yourself. Estamos en familia.
Fermín, ¿me oyen?
Yes.
Yeah, lo que le quería preguntar a la compañera, I just wanted to ask her is, ¿cuántos cursos tiene la Universidad de Puerto Rico Y para poner en perspectiva, más o menos, tú dices que hubo recortes a 66 programas. Entonces, poniendo en perspectiva si ella sabe, ¿ve? Porque si quizá no sabe, pero cuántos cursos hay en la universidad. No solamente eso, que han habido recortes anteriormente en el pasado, y si ella sabe algunos que fueron bien importantes, que ella puede por lo menos decirnos a nosotros. Gracias.
Pues mira, ahora mismo, o sea, paramos el que se cerrara esos programas, pero sí se han estado poco a poco, ¿verdad? Transformando, cerrando, cambiando y abriendo otros programas. La Universidad de Puerto Rico es el lugar en donde más programas académicos hay y, ¿verdad? Somos una institución clasificada R2 de investigación, así que, ¿verdad? Las instituciones, a veces uno piensa la Universidad de Puerto Rico lo que hace es enseñar, o las universidades lo que hacen es enseñar. No, sabemos que de las universidades salen there's investigations. There's a very important community program in every university that serves the community where it stands. So it's not only, oh, we're gonna close because they have proposed, let's close the university in Utuado, which is a really small agricultural specialized university. But no, because agriculture is really important, especially in a country that only can make 15% of its food. So we're importing 85%. That is very dangerous for an island, especially. And we know about this because it was very hard to survive Hurricane Maria because we didn't have food coming in for a while. So this is a program that we cannot be without it, even if we have 200 students, which is what's going on right now there. But they did close the residencies in Utuado, and they did take away funds from that university. So what are you doing? Are we gonna keep depending on food from outside, something that we obviously need? And also, very importantly, these programs are about sustainable agricultural practices. So it's not like it's something that damages a lot the market, the regular market. So it is an attack on people, on the capacity of our country to stand on its own feet. So this is there's one, yes, it's, I think it's 400 something that, and I mean from the 11 units, it's like between programs, academic programs we have in all the country, like all the professionals that we have mostly come from the University of Puerto Rico. So it's like and also the most programs, the most graduate programs as well, the most specialization, and also like it would really hit us very hard. So yeah, they were making 64 programs being at risk, and also not being able to take students from those programs. And also, the most important thing is these were programs that were extremely important, education programs, teachers from special education, which right now our community has been in the community of special education is and special needs has aumentó in a 30%. So we do need these professionals. So this attack is an attack on our community, on the capacity of our country to stand up, to be able to have critical thinking, of course, and to protect its culture, which is, of course, something that we know is not a priority for our current government. So, but yes, we do have a lot of programs. We have been revising them, and some programs, of course, I think, for example, there was a program in social sciences, no, social studies and history education. That program got combined just last semester. And that was one of the programs that was going to be eliminated. Our university law says that they have to analyze this once they change it. They have to analyze the program for the next 2 years. But no, they were just saying they were going to eliminate it. So it has been very complicated. And yes, some programs that were getting hit. One of the ones was the labor rights educación laboral, which gives it's like it also includes a community program where it helps people to know about their rights. So of course it was under attack. It began by taking away funds for that community program, of course, and just had the assignment for less professors, and then suddenly it was at risk of being eliminated. But it had been for years being attacked. So yeah, I don't
Go
know.
ahead. Sorry.
No, okay, sorry.
Termina, perdón.
No sé if I answered the question. That's what I was.
All right, Esme. Esme and then Connor. Go ahead.
Sorry if this question is like in the weeds, but like, I'll ask. My frame of reference for this is like where I went to university, and I went to university in California. And when I was a student organizer, one of the things that was like an interesting dynamic was that the University of California isn't governed by the legislature. Like, there's like a board of governors, but like the California legislature has like less power over the university because it's governed by the Constitution of California. But the other state schools are governed by the legislature, so they have less power. And I'm wondering for UPR, is it like a school that the chambers have direct authority over, or is it like more autonomous in the sense that like yes, La Junta, but it's governed by like the Puerto Rican Constitution? I know that's like in the weeds, but that's where my brain is going.
No, that's perfect. So it's autonomous, and we have fought for that in 1966, which is when we recuperated. We got back our consejos, and since well, for a while it was taken by very bad people, but for many years since 1966, it was a very combative force. And I do want to honor that fighting spirit of the consejos. So there is a governing cuerpo, like Junta de Gobierno, which is we have a law, a university law, which is constructed by a senate, an internal senate, and academic senate. So it is autonomous in the sense that we, the representatives of each unit, has their own senate. Each campus has their own senate, and then that senate is the one that legislates each university's academic programs. Well, that's the way it's supposed to be, right? And then there is a central administration that governs the 11, but only by with the help and the counsel of two bodies. One is Junta Universitaria, which has representation, one student representative from each of the 11 systems, and one professor from each of the 11 systems. and they are the ones that have to counsel the president of the university. And then there's the Junta de Gobierno, which actually is the one in command. And this body is governed by 4 people from the community, which is 2 students and 2 professors, and then 10 persons that are nominated by the governor, right? So that is where the problem is. And that's what we are trying to change. And we have been trying to change for years. So we're saying we need a reform, and we have written a lot of it, and presented it to our government. We're saying we need to change the law so that this governing system changes and it's more balanced. And we propose the names. For example, the last one that we proposed was you can have 7 seats, but these 7 seats, we're going to tell you which are the names that we want. And you, from that list of names, you can select, because it's the names from the community. And then we want 7 students and 7 professors. So it's more balanced. And that is the body that we want to govern. And also, we are going to select our president and our rectors, rectores, etc. Because we do need democracy, internal democracy, and they do, in 1966, after the last reform, they did gave the university autonomy. It's supposed to be autonomous, but of course, with Junta de Gobierno that works with such a disparity, and with the governor being able to, like what happened, pick up the phone and say, I want this person there, and then push the vote for the current president right now, which is a terrible person, by the way. He's just he's not in propiedad. He's not the person that's going to be there, but still, it's a person that's just following orders from, the governing the system, basically the economical system that is actually profiting from the governing bodies, and also giving money to the governor and all that for her campaign, etc. So yeah, this is what we're fighting, actually.
Very quickly, again, in terms of our time constraints, Connor, I know you have a question. Our hosts have to wrap up by 4 o'clock. So Connor, if we can ask the question quickly and maybe get a quick response as well. Go ahead, Connor.
Hey, saludos a todos. Thank you so much for this powerful event. 2 quick questions, one for Astrid and one for Marlo. Astrid, could you please share about how you pass on these legacies of these waves of militancy in UPR to new students and to faculty? Political education, do people have orientation upon coming in so that they can hit the ground running? And what were your assembly models during these waves recently that you were talking about to ensure the kind of massive participation while also moving quickly? And Marlo, this is a powerful connection about Robert Mujica. Thank you for bringing it up. And I'm curious what you think people in CUNY in New York can do to challenge him, both as a BOT member and the Promesa head, and thinking about other ways that we can remix lessons from UPR and our own context in CUNY in New York. Thanks, everyone.
Ladies, as brief as possible, please.
Okay, so I believe in old school meetings in every faculty and open spaces, not in restricting, and also in making connections with all the sectors. This is what really makes us feel like a community. And this is what we have to move forward. We have to see ourselves not as, individuals with our own interests, because we are, of course, but as a group of people that will support each other, and yes, have a little political education and debates as open as possible, collaborate with organizations and with different movements that can also collaborate and make them part of the Consejo and of every space, so we can work together. I think that's as short as I can.
Thank you. Marlo?
Yeah, so I think like the first thing is understanding him as a target for whatever like action or campaigns we might develop, but it's also we have to pay attention to kind of how the CUNY Board of Trustees have responded to all of the organizing that's happened around Palestine, because they have tried a lot of different kind of manners of confrontation and pressure for that issue. So like I think it's important to kind of pay attention to what has or hasn't been working there as far as pressure, as far as like coalition building and where pressure has and hasn't succeeded, before we can kind of strategize about how we can apply pressure. Because there's pressure coming from a lot of places right now within CUNY. And so we got to kind of look at what's going on and look at it all holistically, if we're to strategize about how we can then kind of get in there as well.
Thank you, folks. Again, there's been a little bit of a time constraint, but it's fine. This is part one. I think it would be a wonderful follow-up to do a private meeting, not a public event, but a private meeting. There's 7 organizations that have been on this activity from start: Pro Libertad, CTA, HUPI, Diaspora Palante Collective, PIP, Jericho. I think maybe a smaller, kind of more intimate meeting set up for us to continue this discussion. I want to thank Astrid for speaking with us today from Puerto Rico. I want to thank Marlo coming to us from the Bronx. Thank you very much. The next Pro Libertad Forum will be in the spring, sometime in April. That meeting, that Astrid, we will be talking because we're going to be setting up a follow-up. We're going to have another follow-up on another platform, just para joder again, another platform for us to have this talk. I know a lot of people want to have talks. Our young folks from here want to speak with young folks from the island. So Pro Libertad will be facilitating that very soon. Folks, thank you so much. As we love to say, que viva Puerto Rico Libre y Socialista, free the land, free Mumia, and we will be talking soon. Take care, folks.